I saw his CV. He's a WBE, ME, he's a big man in an IT international company. Then out of curiosity, I looked into my mother's biodata. She's MBBS, MD and all that. Then why do you tell me all this? What's your problem? She said, last year my father started telling me, Gauri, please read. You must read. You must get a rank. Last year my mother also started. Since last week my grandmother is also bothering me. She has become my enemy. She says, keep reading, keep reading, keep reading. She said, Mama, my problem is there not a simple way of living without so much knowledge and learning? There is an information fatigue that is taking place everywhere in this world. So that is another challenge.
I am from Nepal. Here, Damakanta, he mentioned some of the facts after 2005 King's takeover. But things might be changed if those sort of things happen now. It depends. Like even if we see like the media coverage after 1996, when the Maoists got at that time, maybe they might not get same sort of coverage if they start now. I think the new trends, new conflicts, I think they bring different kinds of coverages as well, because that time the Maoist conflict was quite different, and it was amazingly different for the media, and all of them they swamped, all of them they went. Even sometimes they give excessive coverage, sometimes they have given that, and sometimes even they give one-sided coverage to government as well. Like if we had a smart government in 2005, definitely they would get better coverage and they wouldn't go against of the then government. But King was stupid at that time and he couldn't manage media properly. And I think the corporatization of the media and the ownership and the other factors, they also play a crucial role. So the changing discourses, changing course of the conflicts and the changing course of the society, that also governs the media coverage. That is what I have seen, and I can tell you, like the media coverage which we have given 10 years back, that wouldn't come again. They will see those sort of coverage in a different perception, and now many journalists in our country, they have started thinking, my goodness, we have given those sort of coverage that shouldn't be given that time. Now people are thinking in that way. That is also one thing we have to think over. Thank you.
A few, the subject of the day is changing nature of political discourse and conflict in South Asia. Look, since morning I've been listening, I think the nature of political discourse does not change. Punjab saw terrorism or violence, whatever militancy, much before the other regions saw it. And the violence came to an end much before that. So there were lessons which ought to have been learned. The issue is of, because we are talking about political discourse, the term used in Punjab is that a deadly form of politics was unleashed just to capture votes. Just in a one upmanship, you unleashed a deadly form of politics which led to violence. So again, as Vipul was talking, at that time, Operation Blue Star was projected as India's war in preserving its political sovereignty or protecting the borders, and a community was branded as anti-national. Subsequently in '84 they were butchered also in Delhi. So, but now it is that had Operation Blue Star not taken place, that terrorism could have died on its own by 1986. So the issues and the issues that led to terrorism in Punjab, the same same issues. We now listen to the Kashmiri identity. We're listening to the identity issues in Sri Lanka. We listen to identity issues all over. There's an explosion of identities, I would like to say. So, but the issues which led to that terrorism in Punjab, they still persist. And we say it is a peaceful state. I would like to submit that absence of violence does not mean peace. In Punjab, now what Punjab is facing is, I think, because the political or decision makers have not learned their lesson, which is not obvious. The second phase of violence is internalizing violence. Punjab at this moment is a community of is an entire community under depression. Violence now expresses itself in the form of drug addiction, suicides by farmers, female feticide, you have social tensions. There are caste tensions everywhere. And at the same time, when you have a forum like this seeking closure of those issues, that we need to apply closure to the Punjab violence issue. That is again, suppressed, or it gets drowned. That you are trying to open up old wounds. I think it is obvious in many other places. So again, I would like to use this opportunity that why did violence erupted in Punjab, and suddenly in 92, 93 it vanished. What is again being seen is that, okay, the Punjab police, the security forces, or that the then Chief Minister Byan Singh, they fought the nation's war. But there are other aspects to violence coming to an end. The issue of patriarchy. When the militants or the terrorists in Punjab, they started issuing dictates. Punjab is again, it may look very happy-go-lucky, and the guys have danced to Pagda and they love their drink and all that, but it is extremely feudal. And it is under the, if anywhere patriarchy has a firm grip, it is Punjab. In the later, when the militants or the terrorists, they got control of the things, when their dictates were running around, first they started, they applied the dictates for women. Women will not go out in Western dresses. Women will not go to beauty parlors. Women shall not go to, they'll not talk in English. They'll not apply makeup. That was accepted. But the day when they achieved success there, they applied the second set of dictates. Men will not drink liquor. Men will sport beards. Similar, like men are not really supposed to be talking to other women. That did not, okay, a brat will not be beyond 11 people. There shall be no dowry. They started burning liquor vents and all that stuff. Patriarchy at that time was challenged. Patriarchy hit the militants like anything, they just vanished. Second aspect which is again ignored is the challenge which the militants or the terrorists posed to the organized crime. The organized crime was also challenged. Some of the terrorist groups started owning liquor vents. The writ of the state stopped functioning. They started auctioning. We have those riverbeds where sand and stone is mined. That's the only mining activity takes place in Punjab. They started auctioning it on their own. Even government contracts were being auctioned by the militants, which challenged the organized crime, the mafia setup. And when in '93, I have police officers who told me that they did not have an efficient intelligence network. They used the organized crime to trace out the militants where all they were hiding, and they were eliminated them like that. So this form of, just 2 sentences, this discourse is missing in the media because it is not fashionable. That's it.
See, perception management is something obviously in any conflict situation there are 2 sides to the conflict, and both sides try and manage the inflow and outflow of news. That's obvious. But there is asymmetry between the capacity of the militants to control and manage news and the capacity of the government. I mean, government's capacity and the security forces' capacity in any conflict situation is far greater in perception management than anything that the militants can do, precisely because of the limited nature of their impact. Of course, this would differ from place to place. Taking the example of Nepal, I mean, it's interesting that there is a tendency to talk about that the Maoists have joined the mainstream. This is just to use as an example. My contention is that it's actually a new mainstream was created when the Maoists joined. And a new mainstream came. That's why you had an interim constitution. That's why you had an elected constituent assembly. This was the Maoist demand from way back from 2000 to 2001, even during the political negotiations. So the point I'm trying to make is that if the militancy has reached a state of military stalemate between the government forces and the militants, and they are popular, then it's a different kind of equation that comes into play. But in the situation that we have here in India, which is very different, where you have had a closure in Nepal after 10 years of people's war, here in India, I mean, there are few conflicts that have seen the kind of closure that Nepal has experienced. It's only where the government has either been able to completely vanquish the militants and impose its will and impose a solution, or it's still in a state of flux, where there are, I mean, which is like Jammu and Kashmir, Manipur, and the 9 states where Operation Green Hunt takes place. And that's where it's very interesting that the two keywords that today dominate the discourse is normalcy. When you're talking about Kashmir, it's the degree to which normalcy has returned, and all the figures are then touted. And the other is development. Development has become a key word behind which the government military suppression carries on. I mean, in the 9 states, if the government claims that they want to bring development, is a Maoist who are trying to thwart development from reaching people by their militant activities, and whereas the reality on the ground is entirely different. The reality on the ground is that people question the kind of development that the government wants to impose, the new liberal development model that they're trying to impose. That's why there is this struggle going on for land, water, and forest. That's why it's become so intense, and it's being resisted across the country. Whether there are Maoists who dominate or other groups who are spearheading the resistance. So I think it becomes interesting if you look at the political, changing political discourse, that even how from time to time, and these are all instrumentalities. I mean, I don't think this is something which is a very seriously worked out or anything. These are instrumentalities that the authorities use to disguise what they're trying to do and win over public approval for the kind of military suppression which they carried out, and which they successfully did in Jammu and Kashmir, for instance, with the kind and the level of violence that was inflicted. It's a staggering violence that was done, and the Indian people accused in it precisely because lack of information. They are not even aware of it. And I think that's where the role of the media is providing information. I mean, I agree with my friend that whether you're biased, you're partisan, all those things notwithstanding, or whether you're neutral, the point is, if the reporters are allowed to report from the ground as they see it, or as they observe, or they collect information, and if this is allowed to be disseminated, I think people will form their own opinion and will be able to form, create a kind of informed public discourse which could put pressure on the authorities to take it develop other means than what they take.
I would like to thank all our speakers for their terrific presentations. With this, bring us the end of today's session.